everybody. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you're having a great Saturday and a great weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion. What I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades, and I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. The space that I'm ecstatically crazy about that you know already after 5 years. Man, welcome to the last episode before our hiatus here. And like I said, you always know the drill. Hop in. I gotta get the confetti going because this is celebration season 5. We're celebrating all season for 5 years of doing the show. We're having fun giveaways, contests, and gifts. So yeah, we're celebrating. Like I said, you know the drill. Hop into the comments, say hey, where you tuning in from, so I can give you a shout out. While I make sure and do a little housekeeping here and make sure we're good to go on all our channels there. But we are here each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Live on the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook group, and the website for the show. You can check out the show there live. But I always encourage everybody, like I said, to hop on over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in there, youtube.com/@DonTerrell. And like I said, one of the contests that we're doing this year is if you subscribe to the YouTube channel live during the broadcast, you will receive a gift, and we will know when you subscribe live because the widget will pop up. Mr. M.I., thank you for tuning in there. Appreciate you. Lola is here. Yes, she is here, and I'm super excited about this, and I'm trying to get through this. Forgive me if I'm trying to get through this in a relatively short period of time here because I'm really being mindful of her time difference. She is over in South Africa, so it is extremely late there. So I'm super thankful that she is going to be on live because it is late there. So this is going to be a really tight and concise episode. I'm going to try and make it there. But like I said, get plugged into the YouTube channel, youtube.com, like I said, @DonTerrell. Get plugged in, subscribe, hit the bell notification. There you can check out all the past great episodes that we've had so far as well. Definitely hop on over to the store. Like I said, pick you up some swag items. Like I said, we're putting in new gear and everything. And my thing is I want to see as many people as possible in color of motion gear. So my only request is if you do, make sure that you snap a picture of yourself and share it with us so we can share it on the channel as well. All right. Like I said, I think we're pretty much ready to get this train on. Let me stop the confetti here. Like I said, you already know it's party season this season, but I think we're about ready to get the show on the road. Like I said, what do you say we do that? I think I got everything. All right, super excited to get going. Let's get going. Yes, we are back and ready to get this party started. Like I said, season 5 has been fire, and this episode is no exception. And I'm super excited about my next guest that's graced us with her presence here. My next guest is an award-winning film director of animated films, celebrated for the success of the trailer for her short film, NALEDI, which won a Faku'gesi Award, and please, she'll correct me. She's now working towards making the full short come to life, producing her film, raising most of the financing herself. She's had the joy of sharing her passion for animation by teaching animation as well as art directing animation projects at Tshimologong, Precinct, MOLLO Academy and Studio. Her heart lies in directing and storytelling. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Lola Aikins.
Hey, hi everybody.
Lola. Thank you so much for being on the show. And like I said, like I was telling you before, I am not lost to the fact that it's very late there. So thank you for being on live on the show.
My pleasure.
I always like to start asking, was this what you wanted to do when you were younger and a kid? Was directing, animation, storytelling this thing that you wanted to do, or did you kind of find your way into it from another space?
No, this is exactly what I wanted to do since I was the age of 9 years old. So I'm very fortunate that I knew from really early on that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life, and it's really great that I'm actually doing it. So yeah.
Always a blessing because I share that with people myself. I was very, like you, very fortunate to figure out what I loved and wanted to do early on. And it's even more blessed to be able to say, for most of my life, I've worked doing what I enjoyed doing. Was that something that took convincing for your family? Because I know that's not like over in Africa, the typical kind of maybe thing or profession maybe a parent would think they would want their child to go down. But was that something that took a little convincing for your parents that this was what you wanted to do? Or did they see early on that this was a gift that you had?
So again, in this regard, I'm very lucky because I always had supportive parents. That I never had to fight them on anything that I wanted to do with my life. It's definitely not the case with a lot of people I know. Like most people I know, like in South Africa, that are in animation, they had to really fight to be in this, or like they stumbled into it. But it's not a path that a lot of them um, could see themselves doing when they were younger or were encouraged to do by their family. So I was always supported by my parents. I took thinking about like drawing from a young age. Like when I wanted to go for art lessons, like they took me to art lessons. And yeah, I took art in high school, and I told them I wanted to go to study overseas, and they're like, sure. Like wanted to study animation because there wasn't really any 2D here, specifically 2D animation. So yeah, I'm really fortunate and grateful that God blessed me with really supportive parents.
Yeah, for sure. Because some would have said, no, I think you might want to try something a little different there.
Yeah.
Uh, for you, though, what were the types of, I guess, animations and things that you enjoyed watching and grew up on when you were younger?
Okay. So I watched a lot of Disney films. My favorite film is The Lion King, but also like watching Cartoon Network actually, and I think it's probably Samurai Jack when I think that's probably what made me want to be an animator. Watching Samurai Jack as well, but I also watched a lot of anime. Like Dragon Ball Z
Mm,
and Pokemon. I was exposed to those really early on in life, like at the age of 4. They were playing on like the national TV channel, like SABC, every day after school, like I think between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. So yeah, I was obsessed with Pokemon, like literally obsessed. I had Pokemon bed sheets up until the age of 20. Yeah, and I love Dragon Ball Z as well. So I had a lot of influence from anime, but also a great deal from Disney as well, and
yeah.
watching a lot of Cartoon Network. So
So
yeah,
was it hard
it's
finding your tribe of people growing up that were interested in the same things that you were interested in and liked? Or did like your friends kind of not get it or like weren't really interested in like animation or that type of thing?
I think we all. I don't think I had any like difficulty finding people that liked animation because, for example, like Dragon Ball Z and like Pokemon, they were playing on Dragon Ball Z was SABC 2, and then Pokemon was ET. But those are the national channels, so everyone had access to. If you had a TV in your home, everyone had access to it. Like it wasn't paid subscription. Like Cartoon Network was on DSTV, that's paid
Yeah.
subscription. So you go home at after school, and everyone goes home and watch Dragon Ball Z with Pokemon. And then the next day, like you go to
Yeah.
school and you talk about Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. There was also the Tazos. I don't know if they had this in the US, but like you would buy like chips, and then in the chips like there's Tazos. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No. Sounds kind of
Um,
like Cracker Jacks. There's a prize or something in it. Well,
yeah, there's a
Tazos
prize.
was.
It's like yeah, it's like it's these little round discs.
Uh-huh.
I think the Dragon Ball Z ones were metal and the Pokemon ones were like plastic. But it's literally, I think the Pokemon one was literally to represent like a Pokeball with a different Pokemon, I think. And then Dragon Ball Z, like I had the different characters and they were like different colors, like silver,
Yeah.
gold, I think, green, platinum. But basically, like yeah, like you, and they don't do that now. I think now because of like they want to promote
Yeah.
obesity. Like you won't find like prizes and
Yeah,
your
they quit
food.
a lot of
But
stuff.
again, yeah. So then you collect the Tazos, right? You collect your Tazos, and then you go
Yeah.
to school the next day, and you take them to school, and then you play with them, like play Tazos with your friends. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So I don't think I had any like trouble like finding people that loved animation. Especially as a child.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
getting as far as like wanting to do it as a profession or thinking about doing it as a profession, that type of thing. Because I'm pretty sure like now, you kind of most of your friends or people that you talk to or surround yourself around are kind of in the
Yeah.
industry or talking, so you kind of have a
Yeah.
common ground. That's what I mean as far as those ones that they may have liked
Okay.
it, but they were thinking about, hey, this is what I want to do,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Okay. Okay. I see your question. Yeah. Then in that regard, like, no, not really anyone, to be honest.
Mm,
Even if people like drawing, like for them to want to be an animator, it was only one person and this was in high school, in my class that wanted to be an animator, like in my art class, out of the whole like 100 people in my grade.
yeah,
So yeah, in that regard, it's really rare to find someone that wanted to be an animator. And the guy that was in my class, like he wanted to do 3D, and I wanted to do 2D, so there's still a little bit of difference.
yeah,
So yeah, because people don't really see animation as a career in South Africa, like
yeah.
even to this day, like people don't see it as a career. So yeah, in that regard, yeah, it was pretty hard to see. Okay, like there's someone that wants to do what I want to do, and we're going to work together. Like I had people like I was like my friends, or most of them are all creative. So even those like who I did art with, even if they didn't want to be an animator, but they wanted to do some sort of art, like maybe fashion. So we
Yeah,
kind of encourage ourselves, like we work on our different projects, but we're
yeah.
encouraging ourselves, like, okay, we want to be an artist when we grow up. Like we want to, um, yeah, study art. But yeah, as specifically animation, not yeah. There's only like one person
Or
I knew
just
growing up.
creative. Like I said, even your friend that you were talking about that maybe wanted to do fashion, y'all had a common ground as far as something creative that y'all were both trying to aspire to. That's what I mean. It's, surrounding yourself around people that are, whether it's doing something differently creative, but they're creative, so
Yeah.
they understand you, with this drive to
Okay.
direct
Yeah.
storytell.
Then in that case, I think more in high school was because I most of my close friends, all of them now, like the people that I'm still friends with now, that I met in high school, like they all wanted to be like actresses.
Mm,
Um, they wanted to, and some of them are doing really well, like actually are actresses and start international productions. And I wanted to do fashion, and they went into that, and they wanted to dance. So my friend group was really creative. So like this is specifically high school, so we did support each other, especially like one of my friends, Sluggy, like she's the one that wanted to be a fashion designer. So and we took art together. So we'd stay up late, even if we're like at home, but it's okay. I know Sluggy's working on her project. I'm working on my project. We stay after school,
yeah, yeah,
working on
yeah.
our project. So there was that sense of like we push each other,
Push
even if
each
we didn't want to
other.
do the exact same thing, but we still wanted to do something artistic. There was that. I was fortunate to have that amongst my friends, like most of them in
Yeah.
high school. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that is so crucial, to have people, to have that circle of people, regardless, that they're not in the exact same thing that you do, but they're creative, they're entrepreneur, they're striving to build something, so they understand what you're kind of doing. Like I said, I have a podcaster friend. He's into podcasting, but we're both trying to build something, create something. We're content creators, so we push and encourage each other in what we're doing and what we're working on, type of thing. And those type of people that are the ones that you wanna have. And we kind of touched on this a little bit. Before the show, we were kind of talking about just how you feel like it can be animation can be made within South Africa, Africa as a whole, to the point where it's not so hard finding somebody that's wanting to do it, and the industry is like really blossoming and growing. What are some of the kind of things that you see that are going to need to be kind of put into place or just overcome challenges wise?
Yeah. So I think the two biggest things that we're facing is lack of funding and capacity. So I'm specifically a 2D animator, but even with 3D, we don't have enough. But actually, like globally, there's a worldwide shortage of animators. Like that's a fact. But it's specific, and in South Africa and Africa as a whole, there's even more of a shortage of animators. People and skilled people that can do the job, like
Yeah.
be able to do the job and deliver on time and on budget. So we're really struggling in that regard, and it goes back to education. And we're fortunate in South Africa that we have animation schools, but again, like I'm specifically a 2D animator. There's not really any course that does 2D, and also the animation schools in the country are kind of out of touch with the industry. Like I don't think they talk to the industry so much as what the industry currently needs.
Yeah.
um so that's a big challenge, like, and it goes further back than just tertiary education, like back to school, like art, like yeah, like when you're doing visual art in school. Because I'm lucky I got to do visual art in school, but most people that go to school in South Africa, like I don't think visual art is even an option for
Yeah.
them. And even if you do take visual art, like for example, like when I was in school, and we didn't learn perspective, which is insane when you think about it. I only learned
Yes.
perspective when I went to university. At that point, I was like, had to spend my whole degree catching up. I studied in another country, so just to study T animation, I had to go that far. So I was catching up my whole 3 years for something that should have been taught to me uh, when I was like a child, because I go
Yeah.
to France, and then all those guys, like they're mini masters, like they already know how to draw, right? Because when you learn animation, you're supposed to learn how to animate, not learn how to draw.
Yeah.
Like learning how to draw is like because the prerequisite to learning how to animate. So yeah, and then funding again, like trying to create IP, build studios, that all needs huge amounts of capital. And again, in South Africa, we are fortunate that we have government support. Like I think maybe Kenya's the only other country in the continent that has government support
Yeah.
for film projects. But yeah, like we need more capital. We need more private investors. I think from whatever industry, like
Yeah.
to initially come and support animators or the film industry in general. So, because that you can't sustain an industry or grow an industry just on like government grants. So we need a lot more finance, and another thing is like we don't want all the finance to come from overseas, because then if you come from overseas, then they have their own rules, and like and
Yeah.
then they keep all the profits, like own all the rights to just take your stories, and like they own
Yeah.
everything. So when are we going to own things? So we need to find support within the continent. um, so I think private investment will help in like
Well, do
being
you
able to
think
get.
that's growing, or do you think that's getting better? Finding that support within Africa as a whole. Do you think you're starting to, like you said, see that hey, we need to start building this infrastructure within? I mean, it's great that we have support without in other countries, but having this base
Yeah,
within to support ourselves, type of thing.
in that regard, I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think like we're getting locally. We have the support. It's getting better. Because
Hmm.
for example, if you go to a broadcaster and say, "Please commission my show," and like then when you tell them like they literally don't understand the industry. They don't, and specifically animation. They don't understand animation. When you tell them that you need 100 million rand to make one season of animation, they're like, "What?" That doesn't make any sense. I could spend 100 million rand on 10 shows for 10 seasons, of live
Yeah,
action. Why would I spend 100
yeah,
million rand for maybe 20 episodes of animation? That doesn't make
yeah,
sense to them. It doesn't compute. They want you to go there to them with a finished product that they can license, but again, like, how do we get the money to make a project? So I don't see it locally, like specifically locally. I
yeah.
don't really see like a lot of investment happening locally. Like, people don't find the value, I think,
So you
in
would say
animation.
for something like uh Fortiche and Arcane, you don't see
Yeah.
like a company drop because they dropped a lot of money to make that. They
Yeah.
dropped a lot of money to make that. But it paid off for them with the success of the thing. So you don't see that as anytime soon a company or that kind of like investment into an animation project.
Mm, if it's specifically local funds, I don't see it happening because I don't know, because like there are a lot of like opportunities coming outside of Africa, like French funding,
Yeah,
and I think there's a Hiba fund, that like those are international funds. I think if they tap into those funds, I think it could happen. Like having a big, like, I know the projects like want to become Arcane, they have the potential to be really high commercial, high quality, and I think it could possibly happen if they get the funds, but it's not going to come it will not come locally from local investors. I don't
yeah.
see that happening, to be honest. Unfortunately, I don't see anyone dropping, like I said, like 100 million
Yeah,
rand
yeah, that was a lot.
for,
Yeah, so
for one season or 2 seasons of
two seasons,
commercial
even two
shows.
seasons. That was a
Yeah,
lot.
like we have
Well,
banks, right? Like we do have institutions, like we have the IDC,
yeah,
but then again, it's really high entry, barrier to entry, because they expect you to have like 20%, 25% of your budget, and already if your project is 100 million rand, how are you
yeah,
gonna get a 10 to 25 million rand just to
yeah.
be able to access that incentive? So that's a lot of money, and I don't see people investing that type of cash locally, specifically. Like maybe internationally,
Yeah.
sure, but if it's within South Africa, and I think even within Africa, I don't see it happening.
Well, let me
Unfortunately, I
ask you
hope I
then.
hope I'm wrong. I really
Well,
hope
let
I
me
am
ask
wrong.
you then. What do you feel the effects within the continent of projects like Kizazi Moto, Yanyu, and all the projects that, like I said, that you're starting to see? What's been the internal effects? Because we can see, like I said, it's had its success, obviously, over here in the States, Kizazi Moto and the stories, and Disney working with a lot of studios there to bring stories. But I'm curious, like I said, what have you seen as far as just the internal impact of what those films and things has done for the industry there?
Well, I think the internal impact, it shows that we have the talent, to make these projects. And because like what Kizazimoto won, I think an Annie, two Annies, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even three Annies last year. So that's like a project coming with African creators, like coming and making such projects. So I think it's, yeah, like I think that's it, like the impact that it shows that we can do it. But again, like I don't think it's having an effect on greenlighting shows,
Okay.
or films, because people say, like, because again, it came from foreign money, and a
Yeah.
lot of when you want to go back to, because what's the guy that did Iwaju, Hamid Ibrahim, he's the head of Gadi. Like he said, like he did Iwaju, and
Yeah.
then when he wanted to go out and fund, like raise money for another show, they still wouldn't. Like he was shocked. Like they still didn't have this belief
Yeah.
in him that he could do it, because, and even someone else like I was speaking to, who said something to me like last year at the festival, like they don't really, and they won't really trust us until they think that we can do it ourselves. Because sure, like Disney came here and like a bunch of African
Yeah.
creators made films, but no one's really going to take us seriously until we actually show that we can do it by ourselves, like raise the money by ourselves, raise
Yeah.
it, like fund the projects uh, locally, and make really high projects locally. Like
Yeah.
we're still not trusted, because it still seems like they think that we need Um,
Assistance.
yeah, assistance,
Assistance.
like
We
to
need
make
to
these
help you.
projects. And to be fair, financially, we do need the assistance, but they don't. But they wouldn't take us seriously, and they're not. So yeah, like since then, like since all those projects, I like it shows that we can do it, and it's probably inspiring the younger generation. Like, okay, they want to like make animation when they grow up. But in terms of like impact, I
Yeah.
don't see any shows being greenlit. You
Well, do
know,
you see it at some point in your career and in your journey that moment, like you said, where you are, when Africa and South Africa are at that moment of, yeah, we can green light whatever we want to, whatever story we want to do, and we don't have to go outside for financing, funding, distribution, none of that stuff.
yeah,
Do
I
you
think
see
we'll get
that?
there. I do see it, and certainly for me, like I think I see it. I think definitely I'll get there because I have ambitions to make more than just short films. You know, so I think we will get there. It's gonna take a lot of lobbying. You know, like feeling like internationally, locally. People are waking up to the fact that okay, like we have stories. It's just need somebody to trust us. So we will get there. I really and I fully do believe that. It's just that it will take a while, you know.
Yeah.
Like especially when we're talking specifically locally, it will take a while because the money is coming in from foreign countries. That's not a
Yeah.
problem at all, you
Yeah.
know. Um, yeah. So maybe then I don't know. Like maybe Kizazimoto was one. So I don't know if they need like 10 more Kizazimotos to happen before like okay, so maybe a local investor will like okay, maybe this is actually something worth investing in. I don't know. But I
Well,
hope it's soon, and I do believe we'll eventually get there. It will just take some time. Like our industry is way further than it was just even 5 years ago. You know, like
yeah.
5 years ago there was no Kizazimoto, there was
Yeah.
no Ianu. So yeah, like we're getting there, and we're having a massive boom. I think probably having maybe the biggest boom of any animation industry across the world. Um, yeah, it'll take some time, but we'll get there.
Well, as a director, and everybody just jumping on, we're having an amazing conversation. It's going to be a quick conversation because my guest and friend is in South Africa, so it is extremely late there. I think almost 11 o'clock, going on midnight there. So we are having a fun, and it's going to be tight show. But your experience, and we're going to take a look at your short film, NALEDI, and we're going to talk a little bit, dive into it. What was, for you, what's been the biggest kind of hurdle that you've had to kind of maneuver through on your journey so far?
Yeah. So I think in this case, like my journey to making this film, or like my
Well,
journey
just your
overall.
journey, not just in this film, but just your journey through this industry, just your journey to this point of doing this film, directing, but all along the way, what has been kind of your biggest hurdle? Obviously, there were separate hurdles just doing this film, but through
Yeah.
this journey that you've had, what's been the biggest challenge?
Okay. Biggest challenge in this journey of making animation. Well, I think it's again being in an industry that doesn't like because I'm a 2D animator and I want to do 2D. So our industry is really small in that regard. So I think it's that. But I think personally, because I really had a lot of support like growing up with my parents, and then I went to art school, and I came home. Fortunately, I was able to start working really quickly. So yeah, and I was able to find work. I think it's also maybe the stability of the industry as well. I think maybe that's a challenge, you know. I think more than anything because yeah, like trying to have a living wage doing animation, it
Mm,
can be tough. I think that's maybe probably the biggest hurdle. Like it takes a while, like as an animator, to like make a name for yourself because you have to really like prove your worth and prove your value and prove that you're capable of doing this. So I think probably that, like just earning your stripes, you know, as an animator and as an artist in this industry, that takes a while. But once you get there, it's still hard. But I think it's be less harder.
well, I mean, do you feel anything? Because I know a lot of, especially, black women here, go through a lot and feel a lot just trying to maneuver through whatever industry they go through. Have you felt that as, not only a black African creator, but just a black woman within this industry? Like I said, I know, well, I don't know over
Yeah.
there, but over here it's primarily white males. So any type of, even a white female would have a issue, just challenges dealing and going through it. Do you, as a black female, African female, has that kind of played into anything, or have you felt any kind of like challenge? Maybe not overtly, but just, okay, this is rough.
Okay. Um, yeah, because like again, South Africa, the industry is like really white dominated, white male dominated. So I think I've been really fortunate. Again, I don't think so. Like being a black woman has impeded my ability to like work in this industry. That in some cases, and it's actually an advantage because we had apartheid in South Africa, so there's a lot of programs trying to help previously disadvantaged people, specifically like black women. So if when I'm applying for funding, for example, I would be the first person like the National Film and Video Foundation would fund because one, I'm young, I'm black, and I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So I guess we have a huge like youth unemployment problem in South Africa. So we're trying to get more youth to be employed and trying to get more black women to be employed and earn their own projects and work on their own things. So in that case, in that regard, for me, like trying to find funding is actually specifically in South Africa. It I feel like it's an advantage, but yeah, like I don't think so because I started working immediately and then I've been what I believe I am a good person to work with, so I was still able to get jobs even after I interned. So I think maybe one place like my race might be I don't know if it's a problem, but like trying to find funding outside of South Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I feel like with my I try to get French funding, and it's not more about my race; it's more about the script. But I feel like in France, like I have French co-producers, like like I get all the funds here in South Africa, but then in France, the French don't want to give me money at all. But
Yeah.
it's more because of the style of the film. But I think, but also sometimes the script, but I feel like they don't really get what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
is that a challenge, pitching your ideas and stories? Like you said, especially when you're trying to tell a story that, like I said, it may have a universal, theme that everybody can kind of resonate with, but on a
yeah.
granular level, obviously, you're going to tell it from your perspective, which is a South African perspective. Is there? I mean, is that, you know, um, a thing? For you having an issue, kind of selling, just like you said, in a story and an idea, and we're going to take a look at your short film, and I want to talk about just the idea of getting funding for that, and just taking it, pitching it to other entities that kind of push back of, well, we don't quite get the story of it, or wanting you to make changes type of thing.
I think definitely not in South Africa, but definitely overseas. Yeah, like, and I realized that you can change the script so many times or like make edits, even if it's not major changes, but it's never going to be enough for them. Like, you can make this edit and then they'll still not be happy. So I think in that regard, yeah, I really like had pretty much no success. Like, I'm talking specifically about France because I have French co-producers and they've been trying to sell the short over there to their national funders and regional funders, and it's been really hard.
Yeah,
They're not having any luck. So maybe it's yeah, it's I don't know if it's that because they look at specifically the script and the art direction, and they have I don't know, like I think they're a lot more picky as opposed to South Africa. And granted, they have a lot more funds and a lot more applications, so
yeah.
probably yes. So I
Um,
think in that regard, but actually going back to being a black woman, I guess the one instance was when I was making the trailer. So had to lead a group of people, and then it didn't go as I planned. Well, I was learning on the job. It's my first time directing. So I think sometimes in that case, I thought like, okay, maybe if I'm over here, I feel like I was being taken advantage of a little because people wouldn't deliver their work, on
Yeah.
time. And it's also like my colleagues as well, like people that I was working with previously, like sitting next to at work, and all of a sudden I'm their boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe it was that as well, because it was really weird. Like we worked together on other projects, and I saw you deliver for these other projects we literally worked on. That was literally sitting next to you, but then for my own project, you
Yeah.
wouldn't do that. You wouldn't put the same level of effort that I know you can. I literally seen you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was like a very jarring experience for me. So I think that was the one instance, yeah, that being one might have impeded me, like in making
Yeah.
my career and my journey. But
That's a
yeah, I
tough
think
thing too, to suddenly move to a directing kind of management role of, okay, now this is your baby and you have expectations of the things that you want and need and are expecting, your friends or whoever your coworkers to produce that. And being in that position of, like I said, having to make the decisions, even though they're your friends, this is a project, type of thing. Hey, this is what I need, type of thing. So it's a very
yeah,
tricky thing. A lot of people, I guess, have to navigate really well with. And I had asked, it is funny because I had asked kind of Everett Downey, kind of the same thing. And he did My Dad the Bounty Hunter, or created My
okay,
Dad the
yeah.
Bounty Hunter on Netflix, but he did it with his partner. And they worked at a
Mm,
studio. They worked at another studio together, but he knew his partner enjoyed writing and he enjoyed animating, so they came together to work on this project. My point is, I know a lot of people that work with friends or people that they worked with, but then go into this project together and being clear on everybody's roles and this is what is expected of you and that type of thing, and taking it seriously type of thing is a very hard thing to do, but something that you have to do if it's your project, and especially if there's money on the line.
yeah, yeah. That was really hard. Like the first 3 months of making this project, yeah, working with your friends. At least in my experience, not a good idea. Even after that, I'm like, don't know if I should choose the people that I work with. Let my producers do that, or my art directors. And to be fair, like it was my first time directing. Like
Yeah.
like I'd been only working 2 years, like in total at all. So it's yeah, I didn't have the experience because normally if you're going to direct, people wait 10, 20 years to get
Yeah.
a chance to direct, and I just had this opportunity to like fall into my lap.
Yeah.
So I also was an experience, and I also like saw a lot of times, to be honest, a lot of times I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So it's also things that I did as well. So I don't put all blame on the people that I was
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
with. I
Yeah.
also as well. I also had made a lot of mistakes, and was at fault for a lot of things as well. So
And
yeah,
that was going to
learning.
be a question that I was going to ask you. Like, and we're getting ready to take a look at NALEDI and some of the artwork in the trailer for it. But I do want you to think about it, because that was going to be a question I was going to ask you. What was your kind of biggest learning lesson takeaway from the experience of making it? And I know,
Yeah.
like you just said, this was kind of your first time directing. So I'm sure you had a lot of like things that you were learning, like you said, on the fly. But before we dive into that, um, let's jump over and take a look at before we look at the trailer and stuff. Because like I said, the style is what kind of got me when I first saw it online and first connected with you. Like I said, I think this was the first image that I saw, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, type of artwork. And so, like I said, as I saw it, and really was learning that, okay, this is going to be an animated film. I was like, okay, this is really cool. I like this. Um, Kind of had that Ernie. I don't know if you know the artist. He's a famous artist here over in the state, Ernie Barnes. But you've seen his artwork, like on. If you've seen the Good Times, the show The
Mm-mm.
Good Times, If you've seen the show The Good Times, he has this kind of style of elongated characters, black characters. So if you
That Ernie
look,
Burns.
Is it Ernie Burns or Ernie Barnes? I think it's Ernie Barnes. Um,
Ernie Burns. I know
Ernie
his work.
Barnes. Um,
Because we took a lot of inspiration from Robert Vatty, so he draws his characters with elongated limbs
yeah,
a
he
lot.
was like really, like I said, his art was like really famous because it was the style, it was the art for JJ, the character on the Good Times, the show The Good Times, and I know Bill Cosby showed some of his paintings during the Cosby Show, so he's a real famous artist. But his style was kind of elongated black characters. I think it's Ernie Barnes,
So
type of
check him
thing.
out.
But it reminded me of that for sure. So, like I said, I was like, man, this should be really cool. And then when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, man, this is gonna be really nice. So let's take a quick look at the trailer for it, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna ask you kind of like I said, your big takeaways from doing this project and some of the things that you learned along the way.
This is it. One last moment of drama here in Johannesburg. The women's 100-meter hurdles African Athletics Championships final. All eyes will be on NALEDI Libita, the defending champion, whose father, the legendary Kosi Libita, sadly passed away last month.
Max. Sit.
Amazing work there. Like I said, I love the style, and I'm curious. First, tell us a little bit of background about Nunati and kind of what inspired you to kind of get involved in this.
Okay, cool. So NALEDI is about a star athlete who has to come to terms with her debilitating grief in order to regain her confidence and finish the race. So the story is inspired by like grief. So like the main character is dealing with grief, and when my grandfather passed away, that was the first time I experienced grief in my life, like having a major loss and death in my family. But also when I was in school, I really wanted to play sports for the country, like at an international level, represent South Africa.
Mm.
But I suffered an injury when I was in grade 11. I had a knee injury, and that pretty much ended any hope of playing internationally and representing my country. So it's kind of like,
Doing the hurdles, like
oh no, not doing hurdles. I was playing hockey actually, but there was a time I did do hurdles when I was 11, and I did trip over a hurdle actually, and it was during a really important race. It was like to like for the trials, like to make the district team. I was coming
Yeah.
second, and then I tripped. And usually, like the top two, if you come in the top two, you go to the next round or you make the team. So I would have done it if I didn't trip. But the injury was like, but I wasn't like proper. It was painful, but it was not like a proper injury. It's proper injuries when I got hit by a hockey ball on my knee.
Wow.
When I was a few years later. So I actually wanted to play hockey. That's my favorite sport actually. I love that athletics, but hockey was my favorite sport, and I wanted to play hockey at a national level. So yeah, but it's from both experiences of like failure in hockey and athletics, and also losing my grandfather that led to this story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So and I even though I wanted to play nationally, like I always wanted to be an animator. Like I knew I never wanted. I always wanted to do animation, even if I wanted to play
Yeah.
hockey for South Africa. There's no money in playing hockey, so I knew that I would not make a career from playing hockey. So yeah, but I put my love for sports, my grandfather, and animation, and made this film.
So, what was your kind of takeaway from the whole experience of doing it? You know, the good, the bad. I mean, what did you kind? Because like you said, it was you were learning a lot of things and discovering a lot of things yourself. So, what was the kind of the whole experience like for you as a, or
Yeah.
I guess, first time director?
So yeah, making this trailer was really a roller coaster ride, and it was during the pandemic. Like, yeah, so I was also made things a bit more complicated. It was really tough. I wouldn't lie. Like making this trailer, I think making the film now is still a lot better than the trailer. Like I have more experience. Um, but yeah, because I had already been working for 2 years, 2.5 years at the point when I started making the trailer,
Yeah.
like got funding to make it. So I hadn't even been out of university as long as I had been in it. So, and I'm a visual development artist by trade. So I went from being a junior visual development artist to all of a sudden directing, and the two jobs are nothing alike.
Yeah.
Like being a leader, and then leading my friends, like my colleagues. Because I chose to work with my friends, colleagues,
Mm,
like people that I interned with. I chose to work with them and give them
yeah.
this opportunity as well to work on a project. So that was really challenging because I really didn't know what I was doing. And they also knew it. Yeah, they also, I think literally one of them said, like, you're a visual development artist, not a director. Yeah.
It is
And this
something
was,
that you have to kind of grow into, I guess. I guess like
yeah,
anything.
it's like directing is something you really learn on the job. Like, there's no school can teach you that. Like
Yeah.
to be a proper director, like even in art school you make films, but it's nothing like actually doing it outside. Like it's a different experience. But yeah, it was really hard leading. And I chose to do this by myself at first. Like Hidden Hand Studios only came in after people that did win production, but when we were doing visual development, it was really me leading. So, and I didn't have the experience as a leader, and even
Yeah.
just working in the industry that long enough. Because even like in school, right, like you make a film, and like your visual development is pre-production. When you're making a now when you're making a film in the industry, like you have visual development and pre-production, something typically can happen years later. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm thinking like visual development. Okay, everything we make in biz dev is we're gonna use that in production, just for it to be redone. Um, when we actually had to go into production, when the civil came in, it's like, no, we're going to redo this because this is not good enough. It's not the standard
Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
could be. But yeah, for me, it has
Well,
very
did
high
you have
standards.
like a production assistant, or were you pretty much kind of
Yeah,
handling a lot of
I
the
had a
stuff?
producer. Yes, things were really. It was my producer actually quit, so then in the end, I had to be the producer. So then there were actually days where I'd be like doing administration when not even doing my job as a director, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah.
so and even like, and I'll be sitting in office with my colleagues around me, but they're literally not even like directing. I'm literally just doing admin because like you got this funding and you have to report to the funders,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah.
because actually the other day, like I was on a call with my producer, well, like she was hosting a masterclass, and she said, like, if you choose to direct and produce, it's a really lonely journey because you don't really have anyone to go to, as a director when things are hard because you have to be on overtime for your
The
crew.
crew.
Even when
Yeah.
things are not going well, you have to put on a brave face. And for me, um, yeah, like when things weren't going well during the pre-production, I sometimes I really felt alone, and I couldn't really talk to anyone. And like there were sometimes I really felt frustrated, and there were times I would express it, to my crew, and I should not have done that, but it's also I literally had no one to talk to for like those 3 months, you know. So and I was like,
Oh
we had a
man.
problem. Like, I don't know how to solve this. I don't know who to go to. Like, you guys are my team. Like, we can solve this together. And it's like, some of it is like, it's their job. Also, some of it was not their job to do, like when we had certain problems. So
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, I don't put all blame on the people I work with. It's also me and my inexperience. And
Yeah.
even like, besides just leading people, like to employing people as well, like being someone's employer and paying them as well.
Yeah.
That's something girls have to learn about labor laws.
Trust
uh,
me. I totally understand because I tell people it's two totally different things being an employee versus an employer. Those are two.
yeah,
It's a totally different
yeah,
mindset. So managing people is something that, and managing, like I said, just the whole production of it is a lot of work. And so
yeah,
that's why, like I said, I find it interesting when you see, and it doesn't even have to be animation. It could be live action or whatever it is. When you see the behind the scenes and all the moving parts that it takes to, say, put a film together and, people together and things like that. I was watching, I don't know if you've seen Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. That's another Netflix.
I haven't watched. I know Zack Snyder. But I haven't
Yeah,
seen
but
Rebel
he
Moon
does,
though.
like, you know who Zack Snyder is, director
Yeah.
Zack Snyder. But he did Rebel Moon. But he did like a making of Rebel Moon. And just the sheer scale of managing production, pre-production, modeling, like you said, the things that go wrong, the things that don't go wrong, being able to handle all that stuff. It's tough enough with assistants around you. So I can only imagine how it is when you don't
Yeah.
have to.
Like I already caught a break when the Hidden Hand Studios came on. Like when the circle came on, I was like, thank God I don't have to like manage this by myself because he has way more experience than me. So like
Yeah.
essentially like we co-directed the trailer together. Like mm, I was even taking orders from him during production because he knows better than me.
Yeah.
Um,
So what did you
yeah.
pull away from that going into your next thing, like your next project? What was the thing that you pulled away from that one thing? There was obviously a lot of things that you pulled away from that experience, but what one thing that is like, I have to keep this in mind going into the next, really the next production. I want to make sure that I keep in mind.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not like NALEDI specifically, but I think any production, I think setting boundaries, So now, like when we're making the full film, like I don't have to do anything producing, you know. And at the one point, the circle was like he also became a producer, but now we have actual producers and like anything production. Like even if I ask him, it's like no, go to the producers, it's not my job. So yeah, he's straightforward like that. Um, but yeah, so I think having exceptional boundaries, and even besides outside of NALEDI, like when I'm at work, if we work on other commercial projects, and we also have producers dedicated to that, I'm like, oh, thank God you're here, like
Yeah.
just reminding people that to hand this in on time, remind us that we have this meeting on time, So, and then when they're not there, like if there's like 1 week that they're not there, I'm like, oh, I have to do all this and set these meetings because like they are not here. So
It's a lot. Trust
yeah,
me,
so
it's a
then also
lot
to
when you.
let go. Yeah, but it's also to let go as well because during again the production of NALEDI, like I wanted to do a lot. Like I was doing everything and I wanted to do everything and realized you cannot do everything.
Yeah.
And even the civil told me this, like especially like and this specifically with animation, there was a shot that wasn't finished on time, and I was the one that didn't finish it, and it's my own project. So that was very hard pill to swallow that I couldn't finish a shot on time. So it's like we're going into the film. It's like, okay, I know that like let people that are better than me do this.
Yeah.
Like my job is to direct. It's already hard enough, like,
Yeah.
and it's already time consuming. Like just to give people notes, that takes a lot of time. Now you're going to animate, going to do layouts.
Yeah.
You want to do everything. It's not possible. Like
That's always the
I
challenge.
yeah.
Trusting, developing that trust that, okay, they're going to do the work and they can do the
Yeah.
work and produce what they say. That, relinquishing that trust.
Yeah, like I trust my team. Like I trust my producers, I trust my art director. Even at work, like my colleagues, like I trust them as well. Like we all do our jobs, like we do what we're supposed to do, and we deliver our projects on time. So it's having people that you trust, and animation is like it's not a one person game. It's a whole team. And you have to be able to trust the people that you're working with because it's years you're working together,
Oh yeah,
like years.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Your second family. Uh, like I said, Miss, I'm gonna make sure I throw some of this stuff up here. Savra. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to hack your name. Fabulous lines. The style really made. Yeah, the style. That's what I said. The style is what kind of grabbed me from the beginning. It's just stylistically is pretty interesting, which kind of leads me to my next question. What are some of the things that you see now? Like you said, you're primarily 2D, but you are starting to see this kind of hodgepodge and melge of just so many different styles and things now. And I also want to ask you, as a director, kind of, and I don't know if you know all of the animated films that are up for Oscars, but you're starting to kind of see, not so the typical ones. There are a couple of ones in there, like Flow is a different style. The giant, what was it? The wild robot. That's a different style. Now you got your typical ones like, Inside Out 2, Pixar, type of stuff. But you're starting to see like, these kind of different styles of animation. Are there, styles that like really, kind of, when you saw it, it was like really, wow, that's probably pretty cool.
yeah, like probably definitely. It's very cliche that Spider-Verse, but also like in more recent times, like Arcane, like that's especially the second season. Like they up the art direction in every episode. Like in the beginning, I think every episode the art direction is different. Like there's like a segment that's really different as opposed to their usual style. Even their usual style, like they went into more worlds.
Yeah.
And each dimensional world that they went to, environment is like it's another art direction. It was really crazy. I think it's a really like the technical and artistic feat what they did with Arcane, like both seasons.
Yeah.
Like it's an instant classic in my opinion. So yeah, like I think what Arcane is doing, and Sony in general, like Sony and Spider Verse, But yeah, what they're doing in general, actually, in my opinion, in the West, like maybe not say West, but specifically in America, I think they're like the leading studio at the moment. Sony specifically, like every film that they are making at the moment is completely different from their last. Looks completely different from their last.
Yeah.
And then DreamWorks is not far behind either.
Yeah, and that was kind of, and like I said, this is such a deep conversation that we talk for hours, and maybe that's a part two. But I never really kind of got like the Academy's criteria for what makes an Oscar or not. But it seems like they kind of, from year to year, say, okay, well, maybe it's time for this to put this up here. Maybe it's time for that. Like I said, you have your typical ones. Like Pixar usually has one that's in there somewhere every year.
Yeah.
Pixar has an animated short. But again, you are starting to see these ones that are just different. Like Flow doesn't have any dialogue at all. And it's just a different style. And then you got Wild Robot. So, like I said, are you starting to see, like I said, more creators, more studios kind of take that chance of experimenting with different things and styles now?
Yeah, 100%. Like even like at Tshimologong Precinct, like we're just a indie studio, but we work on a variety of styles and our projects. We will do projects that are 2D, but we will texture our characters, the style frame also on the up. But the client wants textured looking project, and then we were able to find a way to execute that, So even in like smaller studios, like as going as far as South Africa, it's definitely changing. People taking risks, Like even for me, I feel like at one point I like to do, I don't know when, but at one point I like to do a project that's like not so classical, typical 2D animation style. So yeah, I think there's a lot more freedom everyone feels into doing their own work and making their own style, and the animation projects are better for it because even like the Oscars, I think, are starting to reflect that. Like Disney hasn't won an Oscar in almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And I don't, in my opinion, I don't see them winning an Oscar this year for Inside Out.
Yeah, and I
Could be
was
wrong.
thinking, well, it's so, but
Like,
see, you made a great point because I was thinking about that earlier, in that Pixar, I think ever since they got bought by Disney, they hadn't really pushed themselves. You know, like when they were when they were separate, and they were only, they were a separate company. They were only partnering with Disney for distribution. It seemed like every film they were technically pushing themselves to try something different, which made their film so much better. From
yeah,
Bugs Life to Toy Story to Toy Story 2 to all the other ones that they've made. But it just seemed like once they got into the Disney pipeline of just, well, let's just crank out two, this, you know, Inside Out 2 or go direct to Disney Plus type of things. They
yeah,
haven't really pushed themselves creatively, it seems like. I mean, their stuff is always good. I mean, it's Pixar.
yeah.
But it just seemed like technically they were always pushing themselves with something new, whether it be fluid or whether it be humans or skin or something
Mm.
that just made it, you know.
In their defense, I only see this happening in the last maybe 5, 6, maybe like decade, but I think maybe in the last like 6, 7 years. Because I think even after got bought by Disney, I think they were still pushing boundaries. Like they made Inside Out, they made Up after they got bought by Disney. Well, I think maybe Up might have been in production or pre-production before they got bought by Disney. It takes a long time to make animated films, but in recent years, yes. Because now they're making a lot of sequels to their films. Like Pixar's thing was that they would never, even Disney, but specifically Pixar, their thing was they would never make
Yeah,
sequels.
they would never make
Now,
sequels. You
yeah,
know.
like I think what The Incredibles 2, no, yeah, The Incredibles 2 and Finding Dory are the first sequels they've ever made, I think.
Well, Toy Story 2 was Toy Story 2 was,
None,
I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
actually, this Toy
before,
Story.
that was
Yeah,
kind
they
of
made
before.
made 4 Toy Stories actually. Never
Well,
mind, I'm
yeah,
wrong.
I think 3 and 4 they made with Disney. I think 2 was when they were still Pixar. I don't think 2
Yeah,
was, yeah,
yeah,
I don't
you're
think
right.
they were bought
Two,
by Pixar or Disney when they made 2. But
yeah, three
3 and
came after they
4,
got bought by Disney.
yeah, 3
Yeah.
3 and 4 came after they got bought by Disney. That's what I mean. Disney got into this, and Disney was kind of like that. They initially started out with just, they were just pushing boundaries, but then they seemed to kind of fall into this.
Trap, because they have a
Yeah,
brand, an established brand. Like we talk about this all the time, like at work. Literally this recent as this week. It's like they have a brand. Because what I watched Moana 2, and I still watch Disney films. I watched Moana 2 like 2 weeks ago, right? And I watched it in cinemas. It's still a standard Disney film. Like it's a great film. Like a Disney film will never not be beautiful. Like it will never not have great color, never not have great light. Like I'll still be in awe of the visuals, right?
yeah,
Every time I watch a Disney film, no matter which film it is. But in terms of storytelling, in my honest opinion, I don't think they really pushed any boundaries
yeah,
in, and not even just storytelling, but also like innovation. Because Disney, like they literally like innovated the entire like as animation as we know it today. They pretty much founded it,
yeah.
innovated that, created that. So for them to be this leading studio and not take all the risks that they used to, because like I don't know if you've seen Paper Man, the short that they made. Because
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I didn't see the whole thing. Yeah,
yeah, it was beautiful because I was like what I was in high school. That was like maybe 12 years. I think it was like 2012 that
yeah,
the film came out, and that was the first time I saw anything that was like 2D, 3D. I honestly thought it was 3D, and then and everyone I think expected after Paper Man that they'd make a feature film in that regard, like in that type of style, and then they made Frozen. You know,
yeah,
like they didn't change anything. Like they're more and even I think they're more experimental with their shorts, but I don't think they're willing to take that risk on their feature films.
yeah. Well,
At the
do you
moment they
think
haven't
it's going
proved
to
it.
take companies smaller that are more nimble, say like Netflix, that is able to take those edgier chances with the styles and different things that they're willing to do, as far as what they put out there? Like you said, Disney has a brand, and they're big. They've been around for centuries. Well, centuries, a long time. They've been around for a long time, and like you said, they set this kind of tone. And they're like a big ocean liner that's going to be very hard for them to make these turns in the styles and things that they're wanting to do. So do you feel like it's going to come from these smaller studios and smaller creators that are going to make these kind of more different styles and things?
I don't know. I mean, Spider-Verse came out almost a decade ago.
Well, Sony, yeah. But Sony's big, but it's not the big machine that I guess you would say Disney is.
Yeah. So, and I didn't like, Flo is up for an Oscar. So let's see what happens if they win. I hope they win. I'm really rooting for them to win.
Is
Independent film,
Flo
I don't think
from Sony?
no, Flo is not from Sony. It's
Flo's independent,
what
right?
country are they? It's an independent film.
Yeah.
They're from Europe. I forgot what country it's. Is it?
Yeah, and I think I reading majority of it was made with open source software.
It was made by Blender, like with Blender.
Yeah.
I can't remember which country it's from. Forgive me for that. But I hope they win, and
I do too. Yeah.
maybe it will shake up the entire Western industry. Like now people are taking animation just like seriously. They see it as a medium, not a genre. I don't know, because I don't think Disney would be concerned with like a smaller studio, right? Like I think they'd look at their immediate competition, like what DreamWorks is doing, what Sony is doing, because they're the ones that are also bringing in as much money.
Yeah.
In terms of films specifically, animated films, not overall, to Disney. So even with Spider-Verse and like Puss in Boots, they still didn't change their style, how they made their animated films. They made Wish, but I didn't really see, my opinion, like that much change in style. And it's not even just a style case of rendering, like how the final finish. It's also about the style of like the character design. Like they still have the same type of character design, I feel. So, and I think that got imposed onto Pixar as well, because and even the guys who work for Pixar say like they want to have this type of storyline in their film, but then Disney will shut it down. So they get a lot of pushback from Disney.
Yeah. That's why, like I said, while maybe financially wise, that was a good move. I don't know. I think they probably would have been better off had they stayed a separate company myself. But I mean, I guess that's the business of every business. I guess that's the goal of every business that wants to grow. They hope to get bought up, by a bigger company eventually. But we see how that usually goes in regards to the company that's bought up.
Yeah, I guess it's about what you want at the end of the day. Like if you just want money, or do you want control? If you want control, you will stay. I mean, I think everyone wants money. I think the thing is, I think everyone wants money and control. But it's like, I think for a lot of people, it's like you can only have one, either money or control, and then maybe struggle. But to have money and control, it's hard to do that.
That's a hard one. But I want to ask you, do you think it's feasibly more now because of the time that we live in, as far as, the access to software like Blender, social channels like YouTube and Instagram, where we can go directly to our audience now, like I said, as far as the control of what we create, but the opportunity to be able, the upside opportunity. It's a lot of work on your part to do it, but the opportunity and the control is within your hands doing it that way. Do you see that, or have you, seen that kind of swing as far as creators now?
I mean, definitely 100%. Like there's never been more opportunity and more people doing what they want to do, especially since the industry, like worldwide and specifically in Hollywood, is just crumbling. People are taking more risks to do their own thing because they're literally being laid off by the job, so they have to. So if I'm going to be laid off, for some people, then maybe they have the luxury, like, okay, if I'm going to be laid off, maybe I might as well just do what I want to do and like build my audience and make this project. Because you get a lot of projects that are like being funded by even my own project, Kickstarter. Like I went direct to my audience and I asked them to fund me, and they did. So then I have control in that, because then like I can control where I spend the money, who I spend it on. what I spend it on as well, and I don't need to ask any big investor to like help me make my project. I mean, we didn't raise all the money that we wanted to, but I got control in that, and it gave me a lot of control to go back to people and say, hey, like I made raise all this money by myself from this amount of people, and that allowed other funds to come through. So I think there's definitely a lot more control like you can have as a creator. It is a really big risk, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not easy at all, but
Yeah.
it's definitely possible, and it's possible to like make a living and make a career, like
Yeah.
controlling, well, like what you want to do with your life
Yeah.
and your career. Yeah,
Plus, I do think it gives you leverage when you do sit down in front of those ones. You know,
yeah,
those
absolutely.
executives. It gives you that leverage. Okay, hey, I created this. I mean, I'm coming to you to work out something, but obviously, I can go, like I said, directly to my audience and build and generate what I want. You know, through my
Yeah,
audience type of thing.
yeah, you have a lot of leverage. I absolutely agree. You know, so yeah, I think there's definitely more, like you have more power as a creator now, more than any other time in history.
Yep, yep, yep. You know, for the guests, Miss Maggie, I appreciate you tuning in there. Good afternoon to you. Like I said, we've been having an amazing conversation, and I'm trying to be mindful. We're hitting the hour, so I'm going to bring this train in because, like I said, my guest, Lola, is in South Africa, and so it is, I'm pretty sure, probably midnight. They're going into the
Yeah,
morning.
past this
so
night.
so we're gonna bring this in. Um, One last question before I let you go. Before I let you go, Lola, is what would you, what advice would you give somebody standing in front of you, you know, wanting to do in what you do and get into the industry? What advice would you tell them?
Okay, so the advice I'd give them is honestly, like, just to never give up, to never stop. You know, I think maybe that's cliche, but I really do believe that you just have to like put in the work. You know, like put in the work, grind in the dog, even if it's like a long time and people don't see what you're doing, but eventually it will come back and work out for you. I truly do believe that. So if you're a young animator, like you're in school, you're just starting, like maybe in your first year of working, I would just really say like continue working and honing your craft, like becoming good at what you do, and build relationships as well. You know, like we're animators and we're like a lot of us are introverts and we don't really want to talk to people, but you have to. The industry is built on connections. Yeah, it really is. Like
It is.
almost all the jobs I've had, it's through recommendation. You know,
Yeah.
I think only twice in my life I had to apply for a job. Um, so and every other job came from knowing people, and in even some of the jobs that I did apply for, like it worked in my favor that I knew the people um,
Yeah.
that were hiring me. So yeah, like you really have to go out there and talk to people, like go to industry events, like go to festivals, go to markets, and just get to know the people out there. It's important to draw and important to hone your craft, but we're in the people's industry at the end of the day. Like we're making
Yeah.
projects with dozens, maybe hundreds of people, depending on the scope of the project. So you have to like be a team player. Um, really be a team player. Like you can be the best artist in the world, but if you're not good to work with, it's not going to get you anywhere.
I say that
It
all
really
the
is not.
time.
It really isn't. Like I'm being like dead serious. Like
No. Yeah.
some of the most talented people, like I know people won't work with them because they have complete egos or they don't deliver on time or something like that.
Wow.
So be good to
Wow.
work with, and that's again goes to like making connections. Go out there and meet people, put yourself out there, you know, and yeah, and then honing your craft, because if no one knows who you are or sees your work, or knows what you like to work with, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get a job. If people like seeing you at a festival, like say, oh hey, like I seen this person's, I did a portfolio review for this guy at this festival, you know, and I interact with them. So go out and meet people and make connections.
Hey, you know how I dropped the bomb on that one. That's so true. Like I said, one thing, and I'm not even technically within the industry like so many of my friends, but I have realized that as big as the industry is, it's a very small it's a very small industry, and where everybody knows a lot of people you worked or come across or went to school with or something. There's 1 degree of separation between you and the person that you're working with some kind of way. So it's a very small industry, and reputation follows you. So,
it really does.
So that's great advice. Really is pure gold that you need to listen to that. Like I said, I'm trying to get through this. I could sit here and talk forever on this subject for sure, and I know Lola could too as well if it wasn't such a massive time difference.
Yeah,
but again,
I've had great fun talking to you.
But again, I cannot thank Lola enough for coming on, and like I said, especially live, because it is, like I said, close to tomorrow.
That's been nice. So it's already tomorrow, yeah.
It's already tomorrow. She's already in the future. So I cannot thank her enough for, like I said, coming on and being a part of the show. Make sure that you connect with her and get connected with her, because, like I said, check out all her work that she's doing. NALEDI, the short film and everything. Support her. Connect with her on LinkedIn, where I connected with you. You can see more of the artwork and all the other stuff that she's doing on Instagram. Go to the NALEDI website, and you can see more on that project, and even support her on that as well. Definitely, all this stuff will be in the show notes. So definitely make sure, if you're just catching this or coming in on the tail end, definitely make sure you go and watch a lot of all the rest of the episodes, because Lola did drop a lot of great information there. We definitely got to have her back on the show. Probably we have to work out something. We may have to pre-record it. I do pre-record for my guests that are in like serious time zone. I always love live, but again, I'm very understanding that it's tomorrow there. So thank you, Lola, again for coming on. Thank you for being a part of the show. Normally, I would ask my guests to hang on for a second while I close out the show, but I'm not going to do that with you. I'm going to let you go. I will get in touch with you Monday and hit you up. But again, thank you for being on the show. And again, everybody, please help me thank my guest, Lola, for coming on and being a
My
part of the
pleasure.
show.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you. I could have gone on, but good time to food.
Like I said, I know we could talk about this for a while, but I am going to let you go. And like I said, I'm not going to ask you to hang out in the green room while I close out the show, because I know it's late there. And like I said, I will hit you up Monday and talk with you, what I was going to talk with you about the show. So thank you, Lola, for being a part of the Color of Motion. I cannot wait to get you back on the show for sure. Probably at a more convenient time.
Yeah. It was my pleasure. I was glad to come back.
Thank you. And again, I will touch base with you Monday.
Okay, cool. Goodbye, Don, and bye, everyone. Thanks for listening
So,
to me.
man, oh man, everybody. This has been, like I said, we've closed out this first quarter of season 5 with the bank. Let me get my confetti going. Always, like I said, this is party season. This is party season. You got to get the confetti going. Like I said, thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Like I said, I know my guest Lola appreciates it. Again, I kept this one short because, like I said, it's tomorrow. It's Sunday where she's at. Like I said, in South Africa, so it's a massive time difference. So I kept this one relatively short for her sake. But again, can't wait to have her back on. Mr. Paul Brown, I appreciate you. Salute to you too as well, my man. Miss Savra. I'm gonna assume the Y is silent. Savra. I'm going to say Savra, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Wonderful. Thank you both. I appreciate you, Savra, for joining in and being a part of the show. I appreciate all my guests and all my viewers for being a part of this show. Like I said, this was a great end to first quarter. We're getting ready to start a short hiatus, but definitely this first part has been fire. So I'm expecting season 5. I'm expecting to be just burnt up by the end of this season 5, because all these episodes have been just like fire. So I cannot wait to be back. But season quarter 2 is going to be just as hot. You do not want to miss it. We will be back April 5th. And to kick us off, Miss Lin Jin, 2D and 3D illustrator and designer, is going to join us. So it's going to be another fun episode. But I'm not going to leave you hanging during hiatus. I will be doing and playing some flashbacks from, the oldies but goodies. Flashbacks and some teasers and stuff. And I'll also be doing some kind of impromptu lives. Because like I said, before the new quarter starts, like I said, the two main things are the live or the audio portion of the show is going to be launched, and then the newsletter for the show. Those are, two big things I'm working on that during the hiatus we're going to launch. So, plus a lot of other stuff as well. So, with that, I don't think I said, but definitely want everybody to really start getting behind the show. Like I said, the show's grown this year and it's really kind of exploded more. So I really want people to support the show. This definitely helps me to continue to bring not only the show but other great content to you as well. And I love a great cup of coffee. So hey, buymeacoffee.com/Don Terrell, and donate and support. Like I said, every little bit helps me to continue to do this as well. And I love doing it. So, like I said, this has been a great, great episode and a great way to close out quarter 1. And with that, as always, I can't say enough how much I appreciate you, my viewers. Thank you for sticking with me through the whole episode. So, what can I say? All right. Have a great rest of your weekend. An even better week. I'm not going to say I'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, because we're on hiatus. But I will see you in the next couple of weeks. Same bad time, same bad channel. Cheers, everybody.